Ladies and gentlemen, our next session is titled as Digital Experience Management by a guest speaker, Ranjit Panikkar, Director, Global Alliances, Riverbed. Ranjit has 2 decades of experience in IT infrastructure and building partner relations with global IT outsourcers. His area of expertise include software-defined infrastructure, application optimization, cloud networks, monitoring for applications, networks, infrastructures, and end users. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Ranjit Panikkar.
Thank you. Great, thanks. So I don't need to mention anymore that what is the importance of digital experience management. We've been seeing enough of examples, how much is the data is growing year by year. If you look at some of the numbers, in 2020, the projections are there will be close to about 30 billion end user devices will be connected to the network. And the projection towards 2023, it'll be close to about 50. It's all available on the public internet. You can just research it out. CEOs expect their digital revenue to increase by more than 80% by 2020. American US B2B digital commerce market will be about close to about $1.13 trillion. So no more further explanation required. This is the most important, one of the most important places where business is done. So it is important that customers, partners have the right expertise. They rightly measure the digital experience, right? Now, if you look at the whole of IT landscape, basically starting from end users to networks, the data centers to applications, there are good solutions available today in the market. It's interesting to follow AppDynamics, Cisco. There are great solutions available for monitoring applications, business applications. There are great solutions available in the market for data center monitoring. Then there are plenty of tools available for measuring, monitoring the network infrastructure. And there are some tools available for measuring, monitoring the end users' services. For example, end user, as let's say, you're all used close to about 20, 30 applications almost every day, same as your customers, right? So in such cases, the industry approach or the customers, your reality of the customers' infrastructure is, they're having multiple tools today. But can you track a transaction from a user to a network, to a data center, to an application? That's kind of challenging. If you look at the dashboard, the big knock dashboards, everything, most of the time, it'll show that applications are working fine. Data center, data center network is kind of good. Hyper voice infrastructure is good. Mobile device management, things are okay. But not necessarily that you will see the similar kind of feedback from your customers. Users will say, you know what, kind of okay, but my application just crashed. I was just running my report. It's taking much more than expected. I would expect my report to come in about 2 seconds. It's taking close to about 20 seconds. Even if it doesn't crash, if it is a slow experience, productivity goes down, needless to explain. So what happens is that these are some of the real-time challenges. And some of the most use cases within the digital experience management platform is one is it's mostly reactive. If customer has got nice, great tools available in the market, they will be, to an extent, it'll be proactive. They can sense when the problem is going to happen, and then they can take corrective action. But if you don't have the right tools, or if you don't have the right tools across the IT landscape, and if you can't correlate the problem proactively, then you will end up in challenges like, how many of you asked customers, when do you get to know about a problem? I've asked. I'm sure pretty much most of you have asked. They will get to know about a problem when user complains. User complains saying that, okay, my application is slow. Can you please look into it? Then the TAC comes in. They will validate the request. This customer, this user is saying, it's going to take ages. For him, he's expressing his experience. It's not going to take ages. It's going to take about 1 minute, but that 1 minute is going to take ages for him as a user. So can we do proactive monitoring? Of course, if you have the right tools. It is taking too much to validate the request. Let's say, Ranjit, as a user, I made a complaint saying that my application is slow, SAP, when I'm running my SAP report, or let's say if I'm doing a save record action, it's taking about, let's say it's taking more than a couple of seconds, let's say more than 50 seconds. So IT in the backend has to verify it first. They will say, okay, Ranjit, just hold on. Can I just do an RDP? Can I check how much time it is taking? And then you expect me to run all the, all the application queries and so on and so forth. And then they will validate, okay, whatever this user is saying is correct. So in such cases, there is close to about too much of time consuming, and it's an invasive method of doing it. I would love if IT can validate behind my back, or maybe while I'm working. Don't ask me to stop working, because I may be on my mobile, I may be on my VDI, on my VDI session, or maybe I'm running something which is important, right? The other challenge is finger pointing. This is a very common challenge. Challenge in actually solving the problem. Poor perception if you don't have the right tools in the backend, and if you don't have the right resources. There is a poor perception between between internal customers and external customers. Liability, SLA. Okay, now as a global outsourcer, global SI, you are responsible for signing certain of SLAs, application SLAs to your customers, while you, let's say, do a managed services or a total outsourcing contract. How do you validate? Let's say, for example, there are 10 applications which you are responsible for managing. You are going to say for, let's say, SAP or a Microsoft ERP, every transaction, there is an SLA, and then how much SLA is being breached. So you have to substantiate with record saying that, okay, now the SLA set is so-and-so seconds. The actual application delivery was so-and-so seconds. So what is the percentage of change, and so on and so forth. So some of the most common use cases. And then when it comes to Riverbed, how do we approach this problem? So we have an integrated approach. We can extract information from end users. We can extract information from applications, networks, and infrastructure. So we can see the way, for example, let's say somebody says, I can give you application experience, user experience for all the users. So you have to ask this question, from which vantage point are you talking about? Are you talking about from the data center point of view? Or are you talking about from the network standpoint, application aware? Or are you talking about from the actual users itself? Ideally, I would need my user experience to be monitored from the user side itself. I want the report the way they see it. Okay? So we have a platform called the Steel Central platform, which is basically, there are multiple modules. It's highly customizable. We can integrate it with the best of the best platforms available today. Now, for every requirement, for every, every requirement, for example, if there is a requirement for user experience monitoring alone, let's say, for example, if customers come back and saying that, you know what, I've got plenty of tools installed. The only thing which I'm not really happy is my user's experience. Can you please do something about it? Yes, of course. But if it is a greenfield environment where customer says, I'm going to refresh my entire IT, can you come up with a completely integrated approach? Absolutely, yes. Now, just to give you some perspective, for end users and applications, we have device-based and application-based solutions. For application monitoring and network-based monitoring, and then for, there are different names of it. I don't expect you to learn all of these names. For end user experience, the tool what we use, the module what we use is called Eternity. And believe me, this is one of the most sought after tools in the experience management domain across the world. App internals is basically for application monitoring internals. App response is basically data center perspective. Okay, the same application experience from a data center point of view, the vantage point of data centers. Net Profiler is all the network forensic. You name anything you need from a network standpoint, we can give it to you. Now, if you want to stitch all of these together and present it on a single pane of glass, absolutely classic. Okay, now, in the interest of time, and today we have just 30 minutes, so the only thing which we can cover today is Eternity, which is the end user experience monitoring. But we are happy to take your questions after the session. Eternity is an agent-based, user-based licensing tool. It can monitor the user's experience the way users see an application. Most of the users will use about 10 applications, 20 applications. You can record every activity which they're doing. It's not like Microsoft Outlook, what is average response time? Let's say 10 seconds. That's not how it is. I'll take you through some of the screens. What I would love to do is I would have loved to do a demo, but since we don't have a demo capability right here, what I will do is I've pasted some of the demo scripts on a PPT, and then I can take you through that. It basically click to render time. It takes you through the click to render time. So I've clicked on, let's say, this web page. How much time it has taken for, let's say, there is a mother application, and there are 20 applications, other sub-applications. Each of these links, how much time it is taking. Second by second, user by user, activity by activity. So this also gives you information of geography, what geography the user is based in, where is it, which building is in, which department he belongs to, so on and so forth. Any information about the user, it's given. There are 4 interesting use cases. One is cloud. Cloud providers, the providers, the service providers of cloud, or from the customer point of view, or from the service, from a partner point of view, if you are responsible for building cloud or moving application from on-prem to cloud, people love this because they want to understand. Okay, I moved my application from on-prem to cloud. Was it for good, or it kind of worsened the experience? Or I'm moving from one application to, let's say, from one public cloud to another public cloud. How is the application experience? Same goes for mobile as a use case. Change management. Change management is kind of it's a constant affair, right? So you're all responsible for maintaining IT, building IT, et cetera, et cetera. Now, when you make a change of an infrastructure, an application change, or for example, or an operating system change, some hardware is changed, platforms are changed, how do you validate this? What is the effect of these application infrastructure platform changes? So we can give you experience of the user before the change and after the change. How do we do it? We measure the experience before and after, and give it to you on a correlated fashion. Virtualization. This is one of the most difficult portions. Citrix, the VDIs, Citrix, or Microsoft, or VMware for that matter. When you're working on a VDI, you're not working on an actual application. You're working on a kind of a virtualized environment. We can give with a lot of good use cases on VDI as well. Now, for example, the first thing what customers would expect to know is, show me the entire applications, or the top 30 applications which is consumed, the way it is consumed, and show me the report. Basically, it shows, in this example, SAP, Microsoft, SAP is consumed the number of users is close to about 37 users. It's a demo environment, so that's why you see this report. Usage time is about 95 hours, total usage time on a given, let's say 1 week, 1 day, you can pick and choose. The different application used by their enterprise. So you can find out which is the most used application. First look, when you log into the platform, this is what you see. You can also see based on which geographies are these applications accessed from, and what are the departments, which department accesses the most amount of applications, and so on and so forth. The usage type, what are the user operating systems which is being used to use this applications. So explained, the number of applications, the user experience index. The moment you have, we have got something called as the user experience index and an activity score. User experience index is basically a score from 1 to 5 based on the total health of an application. And activity score, for every activity we create a score, and then we represent. So at one click of, just by logging into it, you will get to know how the health of an application is across the geographies. Now, so I've talked about all of this. And that was basically all applications overall from a high-level point of view. And then if you want to get to a specific application, let's say Salesforce or Microsoft Outlook, for example, yes, we can get to show me that specific application. Now I'm getting into deep. That application is the type of the departments which uses that application, the operating system which uses the application, the geographies, the same activities which you've been seeing for the entire application. Now you can get to specific application. Now, third, the NOC team would love to understand, okay, show me the activities, the health of application overall across my network, and then also show me what is the current state, how was their experience last hour, last one day, and right now, and color code it accordingly. I don't have the patience to basically go through, by second versus. Just show it to me on plain green, amber, and red, so that anybody just walks into the monitoring platform, they should be able to say, okay, now all these applications are good, but let's say some of these applications are not that great. I mean, which is getting delivered to the network from the way users see it. Okay, so this is good. This is possible for all the applications as well as locations. So this is something which basically all the NOC teams should have it. Now, this is my personal favorite. What I would like to, the IT folks to know, let's say if I'm a user, Ranjit as a user, I'm working on 20 applications, and I made some complaints. It's reactive. Now you're going from proactive to reactive. You should have the capability, IT should have the capability to understand how much time these applications are running. So for example, show me the total number of, okay, now this user is called Adam here. That's my demo user. He's using 3 different types. The application can be used in different ways. One is you can use it using your laptop or your VDI or your mobile platforms, isn't it? Most of us use it. So when I say an application is working slow, what does it mean? So the IT has to know whether I was using my laptop or my VDI or my telephone, my smartphone. So we should be able to identify all the devices. Second, what are the top application which is being used? And then show me the activity which the user is doing. Any user, so if a user complains, you can just type in his username, remaining will get auto-populated, a sync from Active Directory, and then you can get to know the response time of all activities. For example, if you look at it, if it is visible in the back, what it says is, this is the time frame. He's using different applications. These are the different activities: open an email, launch an application, save record, etc., etc. Response time for every activity is so and so, and it is color coded. So that when I make a support query, support team knows, okay, whatever he's saying is correct. He's taking a lot of time for launching certain application. There is an issue. It is completely non-invasive. They can do it in the backend. So it is also available in SaaS platform. So administrator not necessarily has to be within the office. All you need to have a connectivity to the SaaS platform, get into the GUI, and you get all this information. This is to the extent which we can go. Now, there is another ask. Most of the applications, so if you go to any customer, there are a lot of there are a lot of things which we can do by default, off the shelf. But customers will say, you know what, my ERP is the most critical application. I want you to customize certain signatures for me, so that when I do a billing, and this is customized for me, when I do billing, when I pull up the records, when I run the certain queries, This should be able to get to the details of every transaction in the minuscule level. Okay, the other interesting parameter is SLA. When you do IT outsourcing, application outsourcing, one of the most important parameters for the team who runs the show is basically on a daily basis, can you sign up an SLA? If you sign up, you have to sign up an SLA because that's what most of the latest trend is. And then when you sign up an SLA, can you show average response time for every application? What is the SLA threshold which is configured? We can ask the customer what is the SLA we need, and on a mutual agreement, the SLA is being signed. And then show me what is the breach. What percentage of activities breach the SLA? And if it is, in some cases, there will not be any SLA breach at all. So then you can say, perfect, no worries. We have less than 2% of SLA breach, which means you have the record. Customer can see it online saying that this is how it is. Okay? Now, this is whatever we spoke about, it's all from the application user experience point of view. Now, there is one more point. One is the device types. IT would also would like to understand, is it challenges happening because of the device issues? Could be possible, right? So maybe the RAM of the laptop is not functioning well. We would like to understand where is he based. So applications, let's say if it is a Canada headquartered organization, internal to you, let's say when you create, when you log a query, IT should be able to identify, okay, are you logging from India? Are you logging from Europe? Somewhere else? Which building? What is this what is this the device type? In this case, it's a Dell laptop, model XPS 8900. His IP address is so and so. His name is Adam. Last boot was so and so date. He's using a Windows 10 system, and his CPU, memory, disk, IOPS. You get every information specific to devices. So you can get to that extent of the disk queue length, which location, which building is he working on, what department is he in. We can get all of this information. Or has he installed any recent applications? So if you look at what are the applications totally this user is using, and then what are the recent health events for that device, laptop, desktop, and then what are the recently installed applications and the recent boots. You get anything and everything about the user and his device. So you got the user experience as well as the application for that. I mean, the device device parameters for the matter. Okay, the other one we talked about impact of change, which is active. So impact of change. So applications moved from on-prem to cloud. Let's say a private cloud, a public cloud. How was the experience before, and how was the performance after? So we can do this for, let's say the activity took about 2 days. We can say the activity was carried out in, the change date was 26/1/2018. Transaction days, the days to complete, the transaction days was close to about, let's say, 2 days. You can put in the date, the amount of time it took to move it from on-prem to cloud. And then show me the experience of each of these parameters. If you look at it in the trends, it will show you the open dialogue, response time, all of these different activities, how much time it was taking before and how much time it is taking after. So this is a great tool for anyone responsible for platform change or infrastructure change. You can do this for for hardware changes, platform changes, application changes, anything for that matter. And how do we do it? We measure the experience before, and we measure the experience after, and then we can go back to the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks and inform the team saying that, you did the migration from previous version to the new platform, and this is how your experience was. No guesswork. Okay. Now, from the data center perspective, so far we talked about how is the user experience from the user's point of view. So we were in the vantage point of users. Now, when it comes to data center would like to, from a data center point of view, how the user experience is. For example, if you have a look at the, the chart here, it's a different module. It's called transaction analyzer. Everything can be integrated together. User experience, user response time is close to about 4 seconds. So when this application has been called, most of the time, on an average, it takes about 1 second. But in this case, it took about 4 seconds. Just looking at the report, any of you can tell what is the issue. The issue was on the server delay itself. So the red portion is basically the server delay, and the delay caused by the network infrastructure is basically less than half a second. So there is no point in spending time in the network side of it. Just concentrate on the on the application side. This chart is basically a derivative of packet analysis. And if you don't have the control of users, and if you just have only the packet information available, what you can also do is you can get some nice, meaningful reports. For example, let's say a transaction, orders transaction. That is the slowest page in that application platform. It was started at the timestamp, the transaction, the user, what is his IP address, how much time it is taking, just from the packets. Now, and if you have appropriate, if you can tap in appropriate places and get the right packet information, we can even find out where is the cause of the delay. This is called a doctor's analysis. How much time is spent on the client machine, on the network, on the data center, and on the application side. That's it for today. Thank you.
I now request Ravindra Athalye, Vice President Consulting CGI, to present a memento.